Hey guys, welcome back to the MyIBSLife podcast. First episode of 2024. Happy New Year's, guys. New year, new us. Honestly, so untrue for me personally. On my same bullshit, my stomach still hurts. Hey, it's only January 3rd though. Okay, things can get better, guys. If you started off the year with diarrhea, listen. There's time. There is time to recover, to make this our year. Otherwise, 2025 is looking great. Okay? And I'm just going to say, like, when 2023 hit, I was not one of the girlies saying, 2023 is going to be my year. No, girl. Just the sound of saying 2023, something about it sounded satanic. Okay? Something about it sounded chaotic. I knew from the get-go 2023 was going to be a shit show. And 2023 wasn't like the worst year of my life. Not at all. But was it in the top 10 years of my life? No. 100% not. Top 15? Probably not. Okay? It's in the lower of the favorite years. But I don't know if you agree. Something about 2024, though, the vibes are good. It sounds calm. It sounds serene. It sounds like I can breathe and like birds chirping and rainbows and sunshine. Watch me have the worst year of my life. No, I hope 2024 is great to all of us. And no matter what, we're all in it together. Okay? But I do feel that 2024 is going to be a happier, brighter year. And that's that. Anyway, we've talked about the new year for 2 minutes now. Let's talk about something else. One thing I did want to say before we get into today's podcast topic is thank you for two different reasons. The last episode I posted, which was all about like my current emetophobia struggles right before the holidays. Thank you. 1, for listening. 2, for the overwhelming like love and support of that podcast episode, but also just like on Instagram. I think I talked about this in the last episode, but I don't talk about my emetophobia as much over on Instagram. It's more of like the TikTok girlies who I talk to about that. I don't know why. It's just kind of like that. But when that episode came out, I posted some memes and some content about emetophobia, and so many of you were just there. And you shared your own personal struggles with emetophobia and anxieties, but also like tips and inspiration and encouragement, suggestions of how to cope with it, get over it, for recovery. And it like made my heart swell up. So just thank you for that. And as always, thank you for making me feel so much less crazy for the shit that I think, that I put myself through, that I go through, and letting me know that I'm not alone in any of this. Other thank you I wanted to give was, obviously in like November and December, all the Spotify Wraps came out and the Apple Podcast recaps and everything. And hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Some of y'all, I was like on your top podcasts. Like the MyIBSLife podcast was in y'all's like top 5 podcasts of the year. That is insane to me. Insane. Okay? Thank you for just fucking being here. I literally can't put into words how much that means to me. So thank you so much. And here's to hopefully some better episodes coming out this year and more of them, and just chatting about things and stuff and shit and butts and things that other people don't want to talk about. So now, all right, everyone, game face is on, mood shift, vibe check. Let's get into today's topic, which truly is a little more on the heavy side, and I do want to give an overall content warning. that I am going to be talking, bits and pieces about like disordered eating and some weight loss and, stuff like that in relation to my IBS and emetophobia. And I do want to say off the bat, nothing I say in this episode is meant to be me like flexing in any weird way or bragging. If anything, this topic is hard to talk about because it was some of the most miserable times of my life, especially during my IBS years. So if you are someone that is struggling with eating or, body image issues or, just anything related to that, first of all, I've been there. So I empathize and feel for you greatly. And also, if you are not in the mindset to listen to this today, totally understand. We'll chat next week. Okay. Next week's episode is going to be fun and lighthearted. We're going to do Never Have I Ever, and it's going to be fun. But today's episode, y'all saw at the top, the title, Why Can't I Talk Ever? When I turn the camera on, my brain goes blank. Okay. We're going to be talking about my personal, relationship with food, and spoiler alert, it's not great. Okay. But let's get into it. So, as y'all know, I have emetophobia. I've had it since I came out the womb. Pretty sure I talked about this last episode. I don't need to repeat it. So before I even had IBS, I had emetophobia. But because I didn't have chronic stomach issues, my emetophobia wasn't as severe. I didn't have any food anxiety, really. It was just if my stomach hurt, that's when I would become anxious. Or if someone around me got sick, that's when I would become anxious. As I've told y'all, I was officially diagnosed with IBS in spring of 2007. I was in 7th grade, but I started experiencing IBS symptoms at the later end of 2006. So about 6 months before my official diagnosis. Also, in later part of 2006, I had a stomach bug, okay? And it was by means not the worst stomach bug ever. I think I got sick twice. Still traumatizing. It was awful, and part of the reason I am so terrified of ever getting a stomach bug again and getting sick is because I know what that does to my brain. When I do get sick, that it just changes me, and I will be so fearful of eating for months, if not like a year or two after, and I will eat pretty much just for survival, because I am so afraid of getting sick again. And so I had this stomach bug, and I was already on edge about eating again after that, even though in my rational brain I know that a stomach bug lasts 24, 48 hours. After that, like, you're good. Okay? It doesn't mean you're destined to like get sick again, but again, emetophobia brain. Of course, right after that stomach bug was exactly when my IBS symptoms started setting in. Now, of course, at the time, I didn't know it was IBS. I just kept thinking I kept getting the stomach bug over and over and over and over again, and I was living in my own personal fucking nightmare. Okay? I wasn't eating. I was so afraid of eating. Every time I did eat, I was so anxious, having panic attacks after, thinking something bad was going to happen. And of course, we all know that the anxiety to stomach problems pipeline is strong. So I was honestly doing it to myself, like becoming so anxious that I would upset my stomach, give myself diarrhea. And back then, again, like, IBS was not a part of my normal, like, daily routine like it is now. And I not only used to be afraid of, like, throwing up, I was also terrified of having diarrhea, because back then, if I had diarrhea, it usually meant I was sick and would probably end up having a stomach bug and getting sick. So this time of my life was terrible. And I truly just, again, ate for survival. And I was talking about this on a TikTok live last night, actually, where that time and up until I officially got diagnosed, and honestly for probably 3, 4, 5 years after my official diagnosis, my relationship with food was so bad. I cut out everything. Okay? My diet selection was so small, and if the food was not the color beige, I would not eat it. All I was eating was plain fucking chicken, plain rice, plain noodles, crackers, rice cakes, like pretzels. Again, beige. My whole diet was beige. And it was the blandest diet ever. And because I was refusing to eat, because I was so scared of what would happen to me every time I did eat, or what felt like would happen every single time I would eat, it did lead to really concerning and rapid weight loss before my IBS diagnosis. I think I had lost somewhere around 20 pounds in like 2 months. Because again, not only was I terrified to eat, but also every time I would eat, it like came right out. I was what's the word? I wasn't eating properly. My body wasn't getting the correct nutrition. I was afraid to eat. I wasn't eating. And I remember multiple times my mom like crying about how bad it was because, again, I don't mean for this to be triggering in any way or a flex or anything, but it's just like ingrained in my brain and part of my journey where I had lost so much weight that there was a time my mom was hugging me because I was so upset about being so sick. She was hugging me and she began to cry because she said that hugging me felt like putting her arms around a bag of bones. You would look at me and I just looked sick. It was so bad. And it was unfortunately kind of that way, like I said, for the first few years of my IBS diagnosis. Felt like I couldn't trust anything I put in my mouth. And it was really rough. And if I wasn't at home, I was not eating. And even if I was home, I would only eat my safe foods, and I would only eat if I knew I was going to be home for like hours on end. If I had to go to school, or I was a competitive dancer at that time, if I had to go to dance, if I had an appointment, I like would refuse to eat because I was so terrified of having an IBS attack or getting sick somewhere other than my own home. Things started to look up, though, my later years of high school. I believe it was probably my junior year of high school, definitely my senior year. Things got better, and I think that's because of a few things. One, I had been dealing with my IBS for a few years at that point. I had started to finally get a grasp on what foods did trigger me. I knew some of my trigger foods. I knew what safe foods I could eat. I started to learn like patterns about my body. Like, okay, I know that when my period comes, I'm probably going to be more nauseous. I'm going to have diarrhea. I can expect that and not be anxious about it. Things like that. Like, I just felt like I had a better grasp and more control over my body and over what would happen if I ate and stuff like that. The other thing was I was just happier my junior and senior year of high school. I can't stand him fucking now, but I had a boyfriend I was obsessed with back then. Listen, I don't want to give him credit, but he made me so happy. I was so in love with him. And he just like made my life a lot brighter at that time. Trust me, it got bad later on. But literally boys are a fucking IBS trigger of mine, okay? Like, people I'm romantically involved with, my husband included, sometimes he pisses me off so bad, I have an IBS attack, okay? That's a different episode, though. But like, I don't know, like I was just happier in my own life. And we all know that, like, when you're more stressed, you'll probably tend to have more IBS symptoms. And at this point in my life, I didn't have as much stress because I was just happier in general. So stomach things were looking up, and I was eating more, and I was gaining the weight back, and I felt and looked healthy. And that continued on through my first few years of college. And I think I've talked about this on past episodes too, of like, college was a great time up until a certain point. And we'll get to that in a minute. My first 2 years of college were great. I felt so much freer. Like, the problem with like middle school and high school was I felt trapped at school. Like, I hated knowing I had to be trapped in this like dull fucking building for 7 hours straight, terrified of having to use a public bathroom at school, having explosive diarrhea, knowing I couldn't go home, like, or that I would have to go to the nurse's office, which I was terrified of because of my emetophobia. Literally every time I went to the nurse's office, there was someone in there getting sick, and I just like made a pact to myself that like I was not going to the nurse's office. Like, that was just never happening. And so when I went to college, I just loved that, like, I wasn't trapped in the same building for hours on end. I could create my own schedule. I could go home, take breaks, use my own bathroom. It was just better. Okay. It was still stressful because college work was stressful. But I was just a lot happier in general. I had friends I fucking loved for like the first time ever. And it was great. Then my junior year of college hit, and everything went to shit again. I don't know what happened my junior year of college. I truly can't pinpoint, like, if there was something in my diet I had introduced that was just ruining me. I can't pinpoint like a really stressful thing that was happening that caused me to be so sick. But the first semester of my junior year of college, I almost dropped out because I had an IBS flare that lasted like 3 months. That it literally felt as though I traveled back in time to 2006, 2007, where I had total loss of control of my symptoms of my IBS. I had no idea what I could or couldn't eat anymore. Everything I put in my body was making me so nauseous, so bloated, having the worst IBSD attacks that like came out of nowhere. I even started having blood in my stool, which scared the fuck out of me. And I retreated back to not eating. And again, it wasn't because of wanting to, body image issues or anything. It was truly, I was terrified of food and terrified of eating. And every time I would eat for survival and force myself to eat a meal, which was, again, plain rice, a bowl of plain rice, or a piece of plain chicken, I would almost always panic immediately after, which would then obviously result in me not feeling well. And I just remember sitting there being like, I'm having the thoughts of like, I'm never eating again. I'm never eating again. It is not worth it to feel this way. I fucking hate food. I fucking hate my body. Being so angry, so miserable. Being so mad at my own body. And this is truly when like I feel like the thoughts of viewing my body as a separate entity of myself, like I would view, and I still struggle with this, viewing my body as like a bully and almost like disassociating it from me. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I would like get so mad at my own body and be like, why the fuck are you doing this to me? And I became so sick, I almost like dropped out of college that year. And my relationship with food became so bad again. and it was really just terrible. Then I even did a whole other colonoscopy to check to see if like there was something else wrong, and apparently everything was fine. It's still just IBS, which is good. I was relieved that nothing really scary was happening, but it was still frustrating because I was like, what the fuck is going on? How come I feel like I recovered from my early years with IBS and finally felt confident again, felt healthy, had a decent relationship with food, and now I'm fucking back here out of nowhere? That's what was so frustrating about it. Then my second semester of junior year, I seemed to recover again, which also seemed really random, that I just seemed to be better again. This flare ended and I became more confident again with eating, and which is a good thing. My relationship with food got a little bit better. My relationship with my own body and my IBS and everything got a little bit better. And I would say that lasted until, I don't know when, the last year or two. I feel like before I say any of this, I will say that and I think I've talked about this before. I'm sorry. I probably say the same fucking shit every episode, and I'm sorry. Like I said, I black out every episode. I don't listen to them again. What I have said before is none of my business. But y'all can tell me though. Do you guys see my cat? That is so cute. He's so cute. Okay, anyway. If I've already said stuff before, like, please tell me in the comments, and I'll make sure that next episode I don't talk about it again. But I have, over the last like 2 or 3 years, I guess since the pandemic, and I've been at home a lot more, and I work from home, and there's so much less stress with like, I'm not afraid of having to like go to work every day and get sick there. Like, I have developed a much better relationship with food, in the sense of like, I've introduced so many foods back into my diet that I thought I would never be able to eat again, especially living with IBS. There are things 5 years ago that I like, salsa for one, or even tomato sauce, that I was like, I'm never touching that again. It's not worth it. It makes me so sick. I'm terrified of it, that I now eat like all the time. And that is also like, this is obviously not an ad, but that's also thanks to so many companies popping up in the last few years, like Fody, Modify Health, Gourmand, all these incredible businesses that make IBS-friendly products, low FODMAP products that don't have garlic, onion, that have like the major triggers in it, that have helped me eat things again that I never thought I would and feel confident in doing so. So I owe it a lot to them. But all that's amazing, and I'm proud that I've come this far. I'm not gonna lie, my relationship with food and with eating is still pretty piss poor. And it's not so much because of my IBS anymore. And it has almost everything to do with my emetophobia. I feel like I have, like I talked about last episode, I feel like I've regressed a lot with my emetophobia. And I've become fearful of foods because I'm afraid they're going to make me sick, but not like IBS sick, more like food poisoning and stuff like that. It's very irrational, but I do feel myself being a lot more anxious now than I was the last few years, where if I eat a meal, I almost feel that panicky anxiety feeling again after, and I'm like counting down the hours of like, have I made it enough time to be safe from food poisoning, and like the irrational emetophobia thoughts like that. So where I stand now today, I'm not anywhere near like I was back in 2006, 2007 when I first was diagnosed and wouldn't eat anything and was terrified, or when I was in junior year of college. But I'm not at my best years like I felt post college, and I felt a lot more confident with eating, and I'm not there. I'm somewhere in the middle. And I'm trying to be patient with myself And if anything, and I hope that this is, hopeful for anyone else to hear, what I have learned is that this shit comes in waves. And what I mean by that is, like, if we look at everything I just said, when I first was diagnosed with IBS, I was at a really low point. Really, really low. Then, after a few years of dealing with my IBS, it got better. I felt more confident. I felt like I had more control. I started to enjoy eating again. And then something happened where it tapered off and I hit a low point again. But then after that low point, and those low points are low and they're terrible and they're miserable, but it went back up and I felt confident again. I started enjoying food again. I started feeling better in general, mentally, physically. And now I'm not at a low point, but it's the trend is starting to dip again. And that's okay. And I'm reminding myself that it's okay because it's going to go up. And I just want to remind myself and anyone else who might be at a low point right now, who might be in a dip of the trend, it comes in waves, which means that it's going to get better. And I feel like I've said this on other episodes. I know some of y'all are fucking rolling your eyes at me right now and maybe even feeling angry when I'm saying it's gonna get better, because I get it. When I was in those low points, you could not tell me it was going to get better. You couldn't. And it was almost like I didn't even want to fathom it getting it better, because I didn't want to have like hope for something that wasn't going to happen. I was just so angry and so bitter and so like, honestly, woe is me, and valid, okay? This shit is so debilitating, exhausting, and it really can fuck with your whole life. Of course, it's overwhelming and sad and frustrating. But as someone who has been in the fucking trenches multiple times and has been dealing with this for 16 or 17 years now, even if you don't want to listen to me right now, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. You will figure out your triggers. You will find a way to enjoy food again. You will be able to control your symptoms so that you can feel better and feel free again and feel like you can eat your favorite foods again, or won't have an anxiety attack when you go out to eat at a restaurant, or, like those social interactions that have to do with food and drinks and stuff. It's going to get better. I promise you that. And, yeah, that's kind of been my whole journey. It goes up and down, it comes in waves. But I just try to remember that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it seems far away right now, it's there, and I am getting closer to it each day. And the same holds true for y'all. So, thank you for listening. To anyone that is struggling right now with any part of a stomach issues, a emetophobia, mental health, physical health journey, I'm sending all of my love to you, and you are not alone in this. Okay? Even if you feel that there is no one else in your life that can relate to what you are going through, please know that I do. And I understand, and everything you're going through is real and valid, and I hear you, and I see you. And this whole community is here for you, and I'm so sorry that you deal with this shit too, but I am also selfishly happy that you are here. And that's really it for this week's episode. I feel like every time I'm done with an episode, I'm like, all I did was ramble for 30 minutes. Did I make a point? I don't know. Did I share everything I wanted to share? I don't know. Blacked out. Y'all know the drill. But yeah, like I said earlier this episode, next week's episode is going to be fun and lighthearted. I asked y'all to submit never have I evers in regards to your IBS, emetophobia, stomach issues, and I haven't looked at them. I'm going to wait until I film next week's episode to look at them for the first time, and we're going to play Never Have I Ever, and it's going to be fun. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and your week, and we'll talk again soon. I love y'all. You guys are strong as fuck, and you got this, okay? Great job, team. Love you.